So I got pulled over the other day.
Naughty Steve.
I know.
Naughty Steve.
Very naughty. And the cop was a little bit, I don't know if he was like a newbie, but he seemed a little nervous or like worried or something. Because, I'm a really intimidating guy. And he was not like apologetic, but, okay, so did you know what you... And the whole time, all I could think was like, yeah, just give me the ticket. I'm just worried about my insurance points. And so he describes the whole thing, and he's like, was expecting me to argue back that I wasn't speeding. I was like, no, I know I was speeding. That's fine. But like, how many points are on my insurance? And he goes and checks, and he comes back, and he's like, I'm very sorry, but that little ticket you had, I think it was like 6 years ago. The points just cleared. They just cleared.
Oh,
now I got another one. I'm like, awesome. Cool.
That's brutal.
So I think I was messaging you guys about it. And then Robin on the team, Robin said, she goes, oh yeah, I used to get pulled over all the time. And we're like, what? Robin, what? And she's like, yeah, my dad was a cop. And so he would just like, when I got my license and started driving just for fun, he would like pull me over just to scare me.
That's hilarious.
Thought that was a pretty great dad move.
It's actually a cop pulling her over, a different cop. And she just keeps going. It's like, Dad, stop it. I'm late.
Have you guys been pulled over / gone to jail?
I was about to be like, no, I have never been pulled over. Ha ha ha, Steve. And then he had to throw in the go to jail, which may or may not apply. You can fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Wait, have you gone to jail?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, if it was trespassing. Doesn't even count.
Wait, tell me.
Yeah, trespassing into Williams-Brice Stadium, South Carolina's stadium, the night before the spring game. Then we got out and hung by the cars for a while and decided not to leave. So
that is
there's just a lot of
worthwhile.
reason.
That was worth it. Do you feel worth it? It was worth it?
Yeah, at the time, no, because I did pretrial intervention, so it's not on my record. Spent a lot of money,
But now
especially
it
as a
is, and we
college
got
student.
it on here.
Yeah, I've said it on a number of podcasts. So I guess when you're self-employed, you don't
So
really
did
care
you
about it.
literally have to sit?
Oh, I spent the night in jail.
Okay, and somebody had to bail you out?
Yeah. No. It was like a free bail in the morning. We just had to call some friends to get them to pick us up.
What did you do? What did you do in jail?
So we were in,
Are there
it was
snacks?
4 of us. And it was at like 2, I think, when we finally, or like it was probably like closer to 3 by the time we finally got booked and in jail. So they never took us back to our own cell.
Uh-huh.
We were all in the holding cell. And so we're with other people who,
So
some of
it's
them were
actually-
like kind of scary for me, if I'm being honest.
Uh-huh.
Trying to act all hard, but I was a little scared. So it was 4 of us, and then 3 of us were still in the holding cell. And one of our buddies, I guess he was the one who was able to make a call, and I think they like forgot about him. And so he's sitting out there. We can see him, but he's like in the middle, and we're in the holding cell, and he's watching some like preacher on TV. We're like, what? Just for the whole time. So I did some push-ups because I'm like, hopefully I'm not
That's
in jail
what you
again.
do- one
gotta
does
do
in
it.
jail, yeah.
Hopefully this only time. We got a breakfast. I still remember it was like this mushy cream of wheat meats, like grits meats, no flavor, with toast that was just microwaved bread.
Oh,
It was
Ouch.
not great.
Joe was like, anyone got a bench? I need to do a little bench press.
Yeah, I mean, can I get a tattoo while I'm at it?
Yeah, like I'm pretty used to this, but
Yeah, I do have a neck tat, so it makes sense. Clearly, this guy's been to jail.
oh, that is awesome.
That,
I mean, it's
that
not.
is a
I mean, it
story.
is.
Did
It
you know
is kind
that?
of awesome.
Yes.
Oh, man.
I
this
did.
is
Well, I didn't
so-
know all the detail, but I thought maybe that would get the story out of him if I.
Man.
That was good,
What a
man.
story. That was a good
What
one.
about you, Jacqueline? Have you been to jail?
I've not.
Have you been
But
pulled over?
I have been pulled over.
You see
It was-
delinquents over there. Clean.
I know.
I was in a sorority, and if you've ever been in a sorority or in Greek life,
Then you have been in jail.
Facts. I wasn't in Greek life.
then you know how recruitment is. And so it was like the morning after one of our longest like recruitment nights. I had been up since like 4:00 in the morning. I had like 2 hours of sleep, and I needed to drive to campus for my 8 a.m. and I was running late, and I was just flying down the road, and this cop comes out of nowhere on a motorcycle, which is like the best. So I get pulled over. I totally deserved it, whatever. But the funniest part about this whole story, oh my gosh. So I'm pulled over. I'm like shaking like a leaf, and I'm exhausted.
I'm just
And
impressed you're going at the 8 o'clock.
Yeah, yeah, that deserves an
no,
out of
I
like,
honestly,
jail-free
I
card.
honestly feel like I might have had like a quiz. Like there was definitely, I like had to be there because I mean, I definitely skipped class in college a few times. But when he pulled me over, you know, he was like, okay, license and registration. So I like pull out my registration, and then I grab my wallet and I hand him my Jack card, which I went to JMU. So at JMU, your Jack card was like your like ID card for campus. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hand you my Jack card. So I reached back in my wallet, and I'm just like, I'm so flustered. I'm like sweating. This has never happened to me before. And I just like grab a card, hand it to him, and it's my debit card. I literally handed him my debit card, and he was like,
Nice.
not your driver's license. And I'm like, I swear, like I'm really smart. I know what you're asking me for. Like
I'm
I
headed
was
to a quiz because I'm good at
trying
them.
to do my 8 a.m. And then I finally, yeah, but it was fine. I think I was like just shy of the reckless, which is good.
Oh, that is
so I was
good.
able to just pay it and,
And then
move
she
on
got
with
to the
my
holding
life.
cell, and Joe was there, and he's like,
That was actually the first time I met Joe.
"Hey, I'm just on diamond push-ups now. You can join me."
Yeah, just finished the set of clap push-ups. One-handed's next.
I'm really bummed that Sunday's not here for this episode because I am 100% sure that this would draw out some kind of Sunday story we haven't heard yet.
I know.
That's likely crazier than all of them combined.
Oh my gosh, she probably does.
Yeah. Well, okay. She's not, though.
She's not.
She's not.
Shout out today. I'm making a generic shout out for all of my current one-on-one coaching clients because they're all working on leveling up in a few areas that are like these are the things that all sound so boring to say on a podcast, but anyone coaching is like really pumped about it. So they're all working on figuring out how to have one-on-ones with the people they manage, how to delegate better, and how to like design their calendar better. And it's just like good stuff. I think I'm also, I love it because those things completely changed my life. Like I feel like they actually changed my life for the better. And I don't know why. I guess I'm forcing them to do these things in coaching.
You're right. It does sound kind of boring. Get that out there. But also the flip side of it is if you told me how would it sound to have a calendar that is not crammed, you're actually getting stuff done and relaxed, or you're delegating well. I'm like, that sounds awesome.
All
so
right, say it that
when you
way.
say it that way, it sounds a lot better.
When you say it better than how Steve did, then it's great.
Just outcomes of working on calendars.
Yeah. I think it's also cool since we work with teams on this stuff a lot, kind of the team culture stuff. It's fun when you get to work with one person and like really see the change and the transformation, like help them through it. Sometimes when you're leading a group, you don't see all the good changes, or you don't see how like it affects them for the better. So it's been fun in a one-on-one setting. All right, my personality gripe today is, you know how some of those people, the bad people in the world who leave their cup in the room when they walk out of the room.
Multiple cups in the room.
Multiple cups, even worse. Week-old cups still in the room. Are you one of these people? Do you leave cups in the room?
No.
When you walk out of the room, do you take a cup with you, or do you just leave it there?
It like, okay, I think it like maybe depends on the situation. I had a really bad habit in one time of my life of like drinking half a glass of water and then just like leaving it. I'm really bad about leaving cups in the car. That is something Jonathan's like, get your cup out of the car.
Yeah.
Like I will leave a coffee cup in the car for months.
I can't talk to you anymore.
But I really try not to do it in like shared spaces because, you know, but if it's my car.
So you're like considerate about it.
That is a direct
I'm a
quote
considerate
of
cup
my
believer.
roommate. I'm just saying. She's like, in shared spaces.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like,
Wow, I feel like you're about to like rag on me.
yes.
You are. You are. That's okay. That's
No,
okay.
I
You
think
can let it out.
I think I'm much
Just gonna
more
shed
chill about it now,
perspective.
having like a little kid who's just, but maybe it's because I'm always the one cleaning up behind her. So I'm the cleanup crew for the whole family, and I'm constantly following behind people and like grabbing all
You're
their
like
stuff
Danny
and putting it
Tanner.
away. Totally Danny Tanner. You haven't confessed yet. What are you?
I most of the time will grab it. Sometimes, let's be honest, I see a squirrel and I chase it, and then I'll realize like an hour later that I left cups, and I'll go back and get them.
Yeah.
Or like next time I'm in the room, I'm like, how did I leave that here?
But you're actually more tidy than that sounds, right?
Yeah,
Aren't
most
you
of the time I will clean up after myself and bring it back. I just every now and then
Well,
I'll
I
get
feel like
distracted.
this is
and keep
not
going.
a conversation about cleaning up after yourself. It's just some simple cups.
No,
Okay,
Jacqueline.
I'm really
No,
clean,
Jacqueline.
guys.
It's
I
everything.
keep a really nice
Jacqueline,
house.
Your car is very messy, and your house. Is
No,
very,
I feel like everyone's like, God, what a slob.
Oh my
I'm
God.
not.
Yeah.
No, it was a bait.
It's
and
hard to
switch.
be
We were talking about
perfect all
cups
the
and
time.
we're going all in on the clean.
Yeah. I don't know what disc or Enneagram type that is, but it's totally related to personalities.
It has
Next. Yeah. So today on the episode, I'm really excited because we've been talking at Greenhouse for a long time about having guests on to kind of share their stories and to hear people's different and interesting, unique career paths. I know I'm really intrigued by people who have, that it's like they go to work and you're just like, what do you do all day? I don't know what your day in the life looks like. I'm really fascinated by that. Remember that show? I think it was called Dirty Jobs, and the guy would follow around like someone who cleans out septic tanks or something. That's not exactly what I want to interview, but I don't know. People who are like a Broadway dancer or something. Like, what do you do? What does your day look like? And I think I got really interested in that with career coaching and being in the corporate world where it's like this copy paste. Everyone's day looks exactly the same. And then I left corporate and I started my own business, and I'd be out and about during the day, like during a Tuesday afternoon. And there's people everywhere. I'm like, what are these people doing?
I think that whenever I'm at the gym later in the day, I'm like, why are you here? What are you able to do? And I'm like,
how
you
are
think
you
that
Say
about
the same
me?
thing about yourself. Yeah.
It's so hypocritical.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm very interested, especially with people who have unique careers or maybe non-linear career paths, or it's kind of like, how did you end up there? And a lot of times we do see interviews with like famous people or, really interesting people, but they kind of skip over all the steps in between how they got from there to here. So the goal of this new segment is we're going to bring on guests who might be people who have worked with us at Greenhouse. They might just be friends or acquaintances, and hear like how did they get from there to here, and what is it that they do every day? So today we have a guest on, Fay Manolios, and she's very fun, cool, interesting person that I know from a previous corporate life. She was an executive at a big Fortune 500 company, leading HR, and especially in the area of compensation. Some people will be familiar with the term total rewards, kind of like rethinking how compensation looks in big companies to consider the holistic person, not just the money that they get paid and the time off. And so I think she's in like a space that's maybe behind the times, but she's a more innovative thinker, and we've always just jammed on different like innovative ideas and thinking about work culture and work life. And so very excited to have her on because she's made some big changes recently that she'll talk about. I wanted to make one quick like note or disclaimer about it first, because I think this is maybe the more interesting part about her story to me that she probably won't share, is Fay was worried when she was going to leave. Because think about it. She was in an important big role in a big company. She led lots of people, and she was a great leader in that role. So people really loved working for her. And so her biggest fear in making a change was, I don't want to leave these people high and dry. Like, I don't want to kind of leave them with, I don't know, just in a bad place. And I had talked to a bunch of the people that she used to lead, and they actually felt the opposite. They were saying to me, oh my gosh, I'm so inspired by her leaving and making a change. And they would use different words to describe it. They would basically say, because I see her being intentional and like figuring out what she wants and going for it. And that's really empowering and inspiring to me. And yet she the whole time was feeling like worried that they were going to be mad or somehow, hurt by her leaving. So anyway, I've seen that happen with people, and I think it's a cool thread about her story. But anyway, let's jump into the interview and hear from Fay. Welcome, Fay, to Career Sweet Spot. Thanks for hopping on with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Steve. I'm so excited.
Where are you zooming in from right now?
Zooming in from home. I do have a home office. And actually we redesigned this little room recently. So it's got a really good vibe in here.
Nice.
The colors I want and, comfy.
Uh-huh. That is crucial. The vibe of the room. During COVID, was working in a room for a long time where the vibes were not good, and it was throwing me off big time.
Well, we moved here after COVID, and so this room was, white walls and nothing to speak of.
Yeah.
So I felt it was important spending time in here to really feel comfortable and it feel homey. So
yeah. Okay. Well, where I want to start with is, what is your current job title? And then talk a little bit about what that looks like, what that work looks like for you right now.
So my current job title is board member. I'm currently sitting on a board here in Richmond, and it's I'm starting to get used to that as my current job title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know yet what the day-to-day looks like, or is that still being shaped up?
Yeah, I mean, the day-to-day, for me, being a board member is not necessarily a full-time role. You attend critical meetings that are pre-scheduled. Generally, the board decides how often they want to meet. You prepare for those meetings, and then if you're on committees, you might have meetings that are, dictated by what is important at the time. And really, the organization determines, right, how often you're engaged. So I love that. Like, it ebbs and flows. And some weeks I'm really busy, and other weeks I have free time to really focus on other priorities, focus on myself. And this is really what I was yearning for quite some time.
Yeah. And do you have a sense of what you want the mix to look like, with that not being a full-time thing? What else do you hope to fill in those gaps?
Yeah, so it probably makes sense to talk about my last transition, which happened in early 2022. I decided that I really needed to step away from my corporate executive role and really reclaim my time and reprioritize. So it goes to the question, that you posed, which is how am I reconstituting my time? And I've been really careful to keep the bucket more empty than more full for a reason, because I really wanted to reclaim the time and decide what I wanted to fill my time with, and I wasn't sure what that was. I just needed some time to figure it out. And I didn't want to say yes too quickly. So some days it's just about going to my yoga class, coming back, reading, catching up on things, spending time with friends or my family, and that's it. And that's like enough. So I'm trying to rebuild sort of this portfolio. The board member role that I play is a really important one. And there'll be other things I add to that, but I haven't done that very quickly or intentionally,
That's so cool. Was there anything that was surprising for you in that, not being careful not to fill things up too quickly again? Having all that space and time, was that tough at all? Did anything creep up on you or was surprising there?
Yeah, it was really tough because I went from 150 miles an hour, as many of us do, to uh, not right. And that, so it's been really tough. It's been really tough to say no. It's been really tough to say I'm not ready yet. Um, and I'm not where I need to be to add another thing to my bucket. And that took a lot of work. Like I really focused on filling my time with things that would be temporary. Right? Like
Yeah.
let me understand what my passions are. Let me really explore this. Let me explore what my strengths are. Let me explore what needs to be true for me to say yes to something. And I really focused on that as like my full-time job. And that gave me the space, knowing that I was working towards something that I could say, no, not yet, because I really need to
Yeah.
answer these other questions for myself. And
Yeah.
that it was hard, but I just kept reminding myself why I was doing it, and that made
Yeah.
it a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting to hear because I remember when I was transitioning out of that big corporate world, I started realizing all the habits I had that were kind of busyness and filling all the time. And it was really hard to know what to do with all that.
Well, and a little bit was I don't know how I don't know what advice you got, or how people responded to your transition, but um, people said, I can't see you slowing down, or this is going to be really hard for you, or it will be hard. Say no, say no more often than yes. And there were lots of helpful tips, even those that were skeptical as to, whether I could slow down or not. I was like, I'm going to make this happen. I'm like, I'm going to prove them wrong, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Which is almost good. You almost need that as a fuel to try and break some of those habits or do things differently.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to ask you something that we ask everyone, which is if you can remember back, what was your first job title? Like the first, whatever you consider your first job, what was your title?
So my first, I'd have to go back to what I intended to do out of college, maybe, because
Okay.
I came out of college and I wanted to be an English language teacher, and I did that for about 3 months.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we may not have gone that far back, Steve.
I
Um,
know.
yeah, I
Okay.
did that for
Just 3 months.
I did
What?
that for three
Uh-huh.
months, and that was a really obvious mismatch.
Okay.
You know that
So you just felt it.
Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
times when you take a job and you're like, I don't know, maybe it's just the culture, or maybe it's that I need to get used to this, or maybe it's a learning curve, and this is really hard. And when it's really hard, you power through, and this was an obvious mismatch. Like
Yeah.
I my well-being deteriorated so quickly. I was so depleted after every single day that I knew I would not be able to do that for very long. And it was a real lesson. I'm a
Yeah.
true introvert, and working in an environment where you needed to be emotionally in the room all the time with lots of kids, it just wasn't the right fit for me. And
Yeah.
I had to quickly realize that and let go. And it was hard
Yeah.
because that was like my dream,
Yeah.
right? I wanted to
Oh,
teach English. It was my
well, and
dream.
it's we often hear from teachers and funny enough, lawyers, like it's such a niche field that you also feel like, well, now I'm kind of backed into a corner. Where else do I go from here? It's a harder one to pivot from to take a new direction. So then what'd you do after you realized that?
Then I was a bit lost.
Okay.
I No, I didn't have plan B. This was my plan. And then this is what I
Yeah.
had studied for. It's what I had gotten certified to do. And I think I floundered for quite a while. At
Hmm.
the time, I was living in Europe as well. And so I took a administrative role at the American College in Greece, and worked in administration for a while. And then when I came back to the U.S. again, I was a little lost. And a friend suggested I do some temp work and I fell into HR.
That's so crazy. And did you ever, I know this is a bit of a cliche question, like, did you ever see yourself becoming a board member one day? Not that, but did you, as you think about where you're at now, were there any hints of that early on? Like, did you ever see any hints of that, or is it a total surprise?
Yeah, I for a couple of years ago, when I rose to, the executive levels in HR, and I I think you've talked about this maybe in some of your podcasts, the imposter syndrome. And I
Yeah.
remember distinctly this conversation. I was on the phone with my sister-in-law. I had just taken this job. I felt so insecure, and I realized where it was coming from. And she and I were talking, and I said, I as an immigrant, English was my second language. It, the first of my siblings and I were the first in the family to go to college. I never saw myself here. And here I
Yeah.
am. And I don't know what this is supposed to be like. I don't know how to be this.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
it was such a moment of clarity, right? That I just I never imagined it. I know sometimes you say, imagine it, put yourself out there, have high ambitions, and somehow some things materialize. That wasn't the case for me. I didn't get there like that. I didn't believe I
Yeah.
was there. So,
Uh-huh.
that is a tough space to navigate.
Yeah. Did you over time start to believe that that was you and that you fit there more?
Yeah, because then I began to listen to people around me. um, and I began to acknowledge my strengths, and that felt uncomfortable. I think sometimes we don't like patting ourselves on the back. I don't know,
Yeah.
yeah, if that's a personality thing. Sometimes, you hear that women have a hard time doing that more. Um, but I started to listen to what my strengths were, and
Mm-hmm.
I could acknowledge that and see that in the trajectory of my career. I was a good problem solver. I was really strategic. I could
Mm-hmm.
bring people, along, and the acknowledging that I had these strengths and that I had learned along the way how to grow.
Yeah.
I didn't need to know everything. I just knew I had the capacity to learn, and that was really
Yeah.
important.
That's so fascinating. I found that understanding and kind of accepting, acknowledging your strengths is one of the most powerful tools to work against imposter syndrome, because it's more of a factual thing that is unique to you. It's not measuring yourself up against others. It's just looking at the truth about you. And you start to realize, oh, that's something I'm good at. You're not comparing it against anyone else. You're just acknowledging that that's something about you that's true.
And I think
Um,
that, sometimes it's very confusing because you might get feedback that a strength is actually maybe not what a role needs or what an enterprise needs. And
yeah.
I found that really interesting too. As I've become a board member, I like to deliberate and debate. I
Yep.
like to roll around in data. I like a lot of inputs, but I also want to challenge people to speak up and tell me what they think. And
Yeah.
that sometimes didn't lead to fast decisions. But guess what? That's great for a board. I mean,
Yes.
not you want decisions, but you don't want to take them so quickly. And deliberation is really important. You're there because your perspective is valued in the decision making process. So all
Yeah.
of a sudden, this strength that sometimes I had to minimize is the thing that is really important in this role.
It's so it's so exciting to me because people listening and maybe meeting you for the first time wouldn't know, but that is something. When you told me you were going to kind of enter into this board member space for your career, I was so excited because of what you just said. It kind of utilizes those strengths about you and those things that you're really good at, but I would say that you also bring a lot of value in that space of deliberation, debate, also like ideas and thinking differently and helping people see a problem different ways, it actually values that versus just being almost like a side thing. And yeah, that's the exciting part of, okay, board member isn't like a typical box on the what do you want to study in college
Not there.
chart, but it's actually this unique place that seems to fit you really well. And I'm curious, you said that's just part-time and maybe there's other things you're interested in, a portfolio. Where do you see, like, what's next for you? Do you see yourself going in certain other directions or taking other things into that portfolio of what you do?
Yeah, I'm a work in progress. And I'm having fun saying that and exploring that. Uh, I'm really thinking about the portfolio in the sense of, does it fulfill my passions? Can I, is one thing going to fulfill me? And the answer for me right now is no. Um, so what is this board? What does this board work do? What does it fulfill? And then what's left unfulfilled, and how do I harness that? So for me, the board work, like it benefits an organization, it benefits a company, and that's exciting because it's intellectually rigorous, and I like that. But it leaves out maybe the individual, like helping someone. And I'm finding that to be really important to me now. I want to give back. And so a part of my portfolio, I want it to focus on, how can I help individuals one on one?
Yeah.
How can I use my experience or my deliberation, the strengths that I have to help individuals who, might benefit from what I have to offer. And I'm not sure how that will manifest. I'm not actually really sure how that will manifest, but I'm thinking about that. To me, it's the
Yeah.
balance of, where do I see my purpose and my value? And that I think that can take a lot of I could go down a lot of paths, and I'm exploring that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing a bit about your story. I know there's so much more. I'm actually sitting here wanting to ask so many more questions about, yeah, but what do you do? What do you do on a board? What does this look like? But I think that it's encouraging to me. And so I know it will be to other people listening, how you're intentional about this process. You were intentional to make a shift when you needed something new. You were intentional to think about, all right, what are my strengths and gifts and abilities? How do I use those? Even in that was a bit of a new idea to you, and there's no blueprint for, okay, when you step into this board seat career path, this is what you do. And now you're being intentional about how you fill in that portfolio too. So that's kind of, it's encouraging to hear.
Yeah, I think that for me it was just a framework, right? What framework could I follow to explore this? And I like structure. So, that I think it's what I love about when I chat with you, Steve, is that this is exactly what you do. You create structure around how to explore these things. And I've really appreciated chatting with you about all of that, the journey,
Yeah.
the tips that you've given me as well. So thank you for being part of that.
You're welcome. Cheers.